dieter. I'm willing to bet at least 50% of women in their 30s and older are serial dieters or have been at some point in their lives. So if you can think back since you first started dieting, how many diets have you been on so far in your life? I can tell you the very first diet I ever went on, I think I was like 11 years old, and my mom was about to start this diet. And I thought, well, I'm going to try along with her. Right. So I always had a very distorted body image growing up. I'm tall, I'm 5'10", which made me bigger than all of my friends. And that really kind of was a challenge for me. So I started very young to diet. So that first diet was the cabbage soup diet. So I don't know if anybody remembers the cabbage soup diet, but it was pretty disgusting. And the first, I think it's like the first 3 days, all you could eat was this cabbage soup. And then after that, you could start adding things in each of the subsequent days. Well, I made it. I remember starting it on a Saturday, and my mom always went to the deli on Saturday mornings, and she would always buy fresh baked bread along with, lunch meat and all that kind of stuff. So she still did that for my dad. And I just stared at that fresh baked bread sitting on the counter all day. And I think I made it until 7 p.m. on the cabbage soup. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And I think I had like half the loaf of bread. So that was my very first experience with a diet. And I've been on many, many diets over the years. But I will tell you that it has been a very, very long time since I have been on a diet. And there's a reason for it. So, all righty. So if you remember the name of the last diet that you tried, go ahead and drop it in the comments. Let me know. Was it Weight Watchers, Jenny Craig, keto, Whole30, paleo? I mean, I could Atkins. I could probably the blood sugar diet, the blood type diet. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on and on with all of the different diets out there. That's why the diet industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. So, how much weight did you lose on the last diet that you were on? How did you feel when you were on the diet? And what happened when you stopped the diet? So I know for me, for most diets that I would go on, I wouldn't lose much because I wouldn't be able to make it very long on the diet. I think the diet where I lost the most was probably Weight Watchers. How I felt on most diets was I felt like I was extremely hungry. I felt like the only thing I could think about was food, and it kind of ruled my day. And I was just looking at the clock, wondering what the next time I could eat would be. And I felt like I was restricting myself, and I just lacked energy and just all of those things. Okay. And then when I stopped the diet, well, I gained the weight back because I didn't learn any habits, any healthy habits to take with me on the diet. I just learned how to eat in that particular way. Okay. So let's see. Okay. Lisa says keto was the last diet you did. Yep. Yep. That is a very, very popular diet for a while now, in fact. So let me know if any of this sounds familiar to you. There's so much diet advice out there that I'm sure you've heard some, if not all of these before. Number one, you're not supposed to eat after 8 p.m. I think Oprah was like the queen of starting that. And Oprah's a wonderful person. However, she is not the person that I would go to for dieting advice. Because if we look at her history of dieting, she's a yo-yo dieter. She loses a lot of weight when she is on a diet, but as soon as she stops that diet, she gains all that weight back. So why am I going to listen to her if she tells me that you're not supposed to eat after 8 p.m.? And by the way, food doesn't increase in calories after 8 p.m. Okay. So if you have a bowl of ice cream at 12 p.m. at noon and it's 200 calories, that bowl of ice cream is still 200 calories after 8 p.m. Okay. So it really doesn't matter what time you eat. Another one, and this is a big one lately, is you should avoid carbs. And I will explain to you soon why that is not good advice. um, Many people tout that dairy products are bad for you. Well, they could be if you're lactose intolerant. Um, but as a whole, they aren't bad for you unless you personally have some sort of intolerance to them. Bread makes me gain weight. Okay. Bread does not make you gain weight. Eating too much bread may make you gain weight, but it's not the bread itself. It's the calories from all of the food that you are eating that is making you gain weight. So you do not have to give up bread. How about I'm starting my diet on Monday. So this weekend, I'm going to eat everything. Okay, this is called Last Supper eating. So when you plan ahead for a diet and then you're going in with the knowledge that you are not going to be able to have any of these foods that you love while you're on that diet, you eat them all beforehand. Okay, and that kind of defeats the purpose of starting the diet. Or how about I had a cookie yesterday, so today I have to work out for an extra 30 minutes. Okay. Working out more will not help your overeating. Okay. Working out has many, many benefits, like we talked about on Tuesday, but working that out is not going to help you with more calorie burn in general. Okay. So eating a cookie and then trying to work it off the next day or punishing yourself with a workout the next day is not going to help you. Okay. But these are the types of advice that we get from the diet industry. So I'm here to tell you that diets don't work. Okay. And most of us, when a diet doesn't work for us, we feel like we are failures. Like we failed the diet. I failed keto. I couldn't stick with it for more than, 2 weeks. Or I failed the cabbage soup diet. I couldn't stick with it for more than 12 hours, right? And that's not true. You are not a failure. The problem is that dieting creates a setup for failure. Diets themselves set you up for failure. They're not sustainable ways of eating for the rest of your life. Okay. So if you come away with anything from today's session, leave with that. You're not a failure. Okay, it's the diets that are setting you up to fail. So let's talk about this dieting cycle that so many of us are on. And it's so hard to get off of this roller coaster of dieting, right? So it starts off with a desire to lose weight. Okay. Maybe you put your jeans on and it's been a while since you wore them and they were tight, you couldn't button them. So now you're thinking, okay, I want to lose weight. So what you do, you go on a diet. And what happens when you're on a diet is that you have a lot of cravings because you are restricting yourself from certain foods depending on what diet you're on. Okay. Or you're restricting yourself to X number of calories. Okay. And then on top of that, you have decreased self control. When you're hungry, when you have these cravings, when you think that a food is off limits, it's harder to hold yourself back from that food, right? So, what ends up happening is eventually you lose control and you binge. Okay. And then you give up on the diet, right? Because we can only eat in such a restrictive way for so long. And some of us longer than others. Okay. Me, apparently 12 hours. But you can't hang on to that forever. So eventually you give up. And then what happens? You gain weight back, plus even more, much of the time. And then eventually you put on a swimsuit and you get another desire to lose weight, and you do that all over again. And it's a vicious cycle. Okay. So, what I want us to do is to stop that cycle. Okay. I want you to take that desire to lose weight, make healthy, sustainable changes so that you lose the weight and you keep it off forever. And you never have to go on another diet ever again. Okay. Feel free to drop questions in the chat if you have them. I'll be checking it every so often. So I'm happy to answer your questions as we're going through them. So, what is healthy eating? Okay. It's a very generic term, right? What it really is, in my opinion, is two things. It's number one, eating a healthy balance of foods, and also having a healthy relationship with food. Okay. Many of us struggle with both of those. Okay. So, and if you struggle with having a healthy relationship with food and you haven't watched day 2 yet, make sure you watch that, because that can, going through the steps that I outlined in day 2, working through limiting beliefs can help you improve your relationship with food. Okay. All right. So, why do we want to change our relationship with food, and how? What does that look like? Right. So, number one, we want to think of food as something that we give to our bodies when we are hungry. Okay. So, we want to eat when we're hungry and we want to stop when we're full. And that's the basic gist of nutrition, right? Eat when you're hungry, stop when you're full. Okay. Like I said before, when we deny our food cravings or our hunger, all of that stuff becomes more intense and we obsess about food. And that is not having a good relationship with food. I obsessed about food for years and years and years and years. And I still sometimes deal with that. In right now, my biggest issue is, oh, it's noon, it's lunchtime, I should eat. So I have to really stop and ask myself, am I hungry? Do I have to eat right now at noon? Or can I wait a little bit? Right. And if I am hungry, I'll eat. Um, but if I'm not, just becoming aware of that. Okay. Eating because we're hungry, not for other reasons. We talked about this before, that Last Supper binging. Feed your body what it's craving. Okay. When we feel deprived, it leads to that binging on food. Or if we know we're going to be deprived of foods in the future, we stock up on them. Right. So if you are craving a donut and you're telling yourself, I can't have a donut, that's too much sugar, that's too much fat, that's too many calories, you start obsessing about donuts and you see donuts everywhere you go and you dream about donuts. And eventually, instead of just having one donut, which you could have done when you first had a craving for a donut, you end up binging on a dozen donuts, right? So we need to listen to our bodies, and sometimes many times our bodies crave certain foods because we're lacking in in a nutrient that's in that food. Not always, right? Because cravings can lead us to the salty and sugary type things. But many times, our body will be telling us like, oh, we need more of this nutrient. So you might crave something. Okay. And then eating mindfully is hard, but it's so important because food, yes, is for nourishment. We need food to live, but it's also for enjoyment. So when you are eating something, try to enjoy it. Pay attention to what it tastes like, the texture, the smell, what it looks like, the temperature. That's what eating mindful, part of what eating mindfully is. And if you find that you are not enjoying that food, you don't have to finish it. And that was a big one that was really, really hard for me for a really long time is I felt, and I think, growing up, we had to clean our plate. And many of us were in that situation growing up, right? We were told by our parents, you have to clean your plate before you can, get up from the table, eat everything. So I always thought that even if I started eating something that I didn't really enjoy, I didn't care for it, wasn't that great, that I had to finish eating it. And I finally now realize, like, no, I don't have to. Like, I can put that to the side and, eat something else on my plate. I don't have to eat my entire plate, right? And I have noticed that with my daughters, so they're 14 and 16. I made it a point not to make a big deal about whether or not they finished the food on their plate. Okay, as long as they tried everything. And I feel that they have a much better relationship with food than I ever had. And they eat when they're hungry and they stop when they're full, which I don't know that I'd ever done until recently, but sure as heck not when I was in my teens. Okay. One of my friends' moms always bought all the fun foods. So we would go to her house and I would eat them all. We would just sit there and eat and eat and eat because I didn't have those fun foods in my house, right? Um, so just giving yourself permission to not eat or drink something that you end up not liking. You don't have to finish it. Okay. But eating mindfully, those things that you do enjoy, especially if it's one of your most favorite foods, enjoy it. Pay attention to all those little things. Okay. And I want you to be able to legalize food. Okay. A book I read not too long ago talked about the food police in your head. Okay. And I think many of us have the food police in our head. Just like I was saying, like, if you're thinking about a donut and you tell yourself, oh no, there's too much sugar, there's too much fat, I can't have that. That's bad, bad, bad. That's the food police taking over. Okay. I tell my clients when they start my program that all food is allowed. Okay. Because when you know a food is available, it loses its power over you. If you know you can have a donut, if you're craving a donut, you probably won't even crave a donut. Typically, we are craving those foods that we are not allowing ourselves to have. Okay. And it's because they're not allowed. But as soon as you give yourself permission, as soon as you legalize all foods, as soon as you get rid of the food police in your head, you're the one that's in control now. Okay. So legalize foods. Don't give food the power. Don't give the food police power. Give yourself power. And then finally, don't use food as a reward because that, again, is giving food power, right? So I encourage my clients to reward themselves as they reach, different goals that they have, but never with food. You can use pretty much anything else to reward yourself. Just don't use food because that's giving it more power. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the many, many, many reasons why diets don't work. Okay. And these are in no particular order. Okay. So one thing is that they teach the body to store more fat once you resume eating. Okay. So when you're restricting yourself, you're eating low calorie, whatever diet it is, our bodies are hardwired to protect us from starvation. Okay. So when you're eating super low calorie, your body starts thinking, oh no, she might starve. Okay. We have to hold on to her fat. And then even once you start eating more, once you stop whatever diet it is, your body continues to store that fat, to hold on to it, just in case you go into starvation mode again. Okay. And when we're on that dieting roller coaster and that dieting cycle, each time we go on a diet and come off of it, and then go on a diet again and come off of it again, each time you're storing more and more fat. Okay. Which is the opposite of what we want, right? And therefore, your metabolism decreases. So our metabolism is the amount of calories that we burn throughout the day. Okay. And there's four parts of our metabolism. They all work together. And I did a workshop, just a hour-long workshop all about your metabolism. So if you're interested in seeing that, if you haven't seen it yet, just drop a comment, just say metabolism in the chat, and I will send that over to you. Um, so when your metabolism decreases, you are burning fewer calories throughout the day. And again, it's because when you are depriving your body of enough energy, your body slows down all of its processes because it doesn't want you to starve. Okay. And many times when you are losing weight, and this is a big one with this new Wegovy, Ozempic, weight loss injection craze, what is happening is, yes, people might be losing weight on these drugs, but they're losing muscle. They're not just losing fat, they're losing muscle, and it's slowing down their metabolism even more. Okay. And so then they have to keep eating less and less and less to continue losing weight. Okay. So it's a vicious, vicious cycle. Um, Also, we've talked about this a bit already. When you're on a diet, you have an increase of cravings, which then lead to those overeating binges. Okay. And our bodies like homeostasis. They like to have a nice, even keel amount of, calories that you're taking in throughout the day. So if you're going from very low calories one day to super high calories the next to medium, like your body doesn't like that either. Okay. And that is also hurting your metabolism. Yo-yo dieting, which is going on one diet, coming off, going on another diet, coming off, having your weight go up and down, increases a lot of health issues like premature death and heart disease. Okay. It's actually healthier to stay at a heavier weight than to go up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. Because again, your body likes homeostasis, doesn't like all those changes. Diets also cause us to no longer understand what it feels like to be full. Okay. And it also, and I can't remember if this is one of my points, but I'll put it here too. It also plays around with our feelings of hunger. So it's interesting. I was watching a documentary. I think it's on Netflix, and I'm not going to remember the name of it now. Something about a healthy gut and its relationship to food and eating, and I'll look it up and let you know if you're curious. If you're curious what it is, just send me a message and I'll look it up and send it to you. But anyways, they followed several people, and one of the people they followed is like the champion hot dog eater, and he lives in Japan, I think. I don't remember his name. And because he has eaten hot dogs and done all this training and filled himself past full tons of times, he no longer feels hungry, and it's really messed up his eating habits. Okay. And diets are just are the same, it's just the opposite spectrum, eating too much to eating too little. Okay. It changes how our systems work. Okay. And so we lose that perception of what feeling full feels like. Okay. And if we don't know when we're feeling full, then we eat more and more and more because we keep thinking, well, no, I'm still hungry. No, I'm still hungry. No, I'm still hungry. Right. Because we never feel full. Okay? We don't remember what it feels like to feel full. Another thing with yo-yo dieters is that when they gain weight back, and 95% of people who go on diets and then go off the diet gain more weight back than what they lost. They also store that gained fat in the abdominal area when they gain their weight back. And that is the worst place to store fat health-wise. Okay. And we know as moms, that is typically our problem area from pregnancy too, right? So, if you are a yo-yo dieter and you notice that you store fat in your belly area, that's a big part of it. Okay. Diets are also linked to eating disorders, which kind of makes sense, right? We when we become obsessive about a diet, it may lead us in the direction of anorexia or bulimia, okay, or orthorexia. So they are linked to those eating disorders. They also chip away at your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-trust, because again, going all the way back to one of those first slides, diets set you up to fail. But you don't look at it that way. You feel like you're a failure. And you feel like, oh, what's wrong with me? I can't stay on a diet. I can't lose weight and keep it off. There must be something wrong with me. Okay. It chips away at that. Okay. And the more diets you do, and the more diets you fail, the less self-esteem, confidence, and trust you have. Okay. Diets also can cause headaches, menstrual cycle irregularities, fatigue, hair loss. I mean, there's a lot of different things that can come when you're not fueling your body with proper nutrition. Okay. So, other than, the typical things that we think about with diets, that is also something else that, we kind of need to think about. And I saw a question here. Let's see. Is there a way to combat slow metabolism during breastfeeding? Um, so breastfeeding, I mean, you do burn more calories when you're nursing because your body has to produce that milk. Um, so I don't know that it's necessarily slowing down your metabolism. It might be storing more fat for the baby, but to counteract that, your body has to work harder to produce the milk. And I'll send over that. I see that you requested the metabolism masterclass, and in there, the things that I talk about in there to increase your metabolism are the same things that you could do now. None of them will hurt you if you're nursing. Okay. One of the biggest ones is just to move more throughout the day. Okay, just move around as much as possible. Make sure you're not sitting for more than an hour at a time during the day. Getting in that added movement makes a huge difference. Okay. All right. So let's chat about the fad diets that are out there. And there's so many of them. So I only picked a few to talk about. And I should have added a slide about the new weight loss drugs And if you're interested in hearing my opinion on them, I'm happy to share. But I did not add a slide this time around. So, a lot of times we hear about these detox diets, which are typically like short, 3-day detox or 7-day cleanse, type of thing. And they're touted as a way to, flush out those toxins in your body and get rid of all the yucky stuff and so on and so forth. And typically you're just drinking some sort of like detox smoothie or detox tea with this diet. So you're not really eating any solid foods. So it's very, very low calorie. And yes, you're going to lose weight in those 3 or 7 days. The majority of the weight that you are losing is water weight. Okay. And as soon as you go back to eating your regular meals after 3 or 7 days, you're gaining all that water weight back. Okay. And on top of that, we don't need help detoxing our body. Okay. Our bodies are amazing and they do everything that they need to do. Our livers, our kidneys, our immune system does all the cleansing for us. We don't have to help it along. Okay. Super low calorie diets. So this, in my opinion, is anything below 1,200 calories. Okay. Unless you are super petite and don't have a lot of muscle, you need to eat more than 1,200 calories. Okay. When we eat too few calories, our body thinks it's starving, like we talked about earlier, and it slows down our metabolism. Okay. Because it wants to protect us and it hangs onto our fat, right? And then when we go back to eating normally, because we can't eat less than 1,200 calories for the rest of our lives, it takes a while for our metabolism to readjust. And sometimes it never does. So therefore, you need fewer calories than you needed before. So maintenance calories are the number of calories that you need to maintain the weight you are at. So let's say your maintenance calories were 2,200 calories a day. And then you went on this really low calorie diet and you were eating 1,000 calories a day. When you go back to just normal eating, now your metabolism has slowed down. So now instead of 2,200 calories as your maintenance, maybe your maintenance calories are 1,800. So you have 400 fewer calories per day to eat to keep your weight the same, which is why we end up gaining weight typically, because we go back to eating exactly how we ate before the diet. Okay, so again, that's that yo-yo diet syndrome. Keto. I'm very anti-keto. Our bodies need all of the macronutrients, and our macronutrients are carbohydrates, protein, and fat. Our bodies need all 3 of them. Any diet that is asking you to remove an entire macronutrient or an entire food group is probably not a sustainable diet. Okay. Carbs are the only source of fuel for our brains. So if you've ever been on keto or you know anybody who's been on keto and you have the brain fog, it's because you're not fueling your brain because you're not eating enough carbohydrates. Okay. There are a lot of health risks to keto as well. It can increase our LDL cholesterol, which is linked to heart disease. It can also increase our risk of diabetes, osteoporosis, kidney stones, insulin resistance, and it's associated with early death from all causes. So I know keto typically gets a a lot of airtime because people have lost a lot of weight while on keto. I'm not going to begrudge that. But as soon as they reintroduce carbohydrates into their body and go back to eating a normal diet, they're going to gain that weight back, just like with any diet. And and our body needs carbohydrates. Simple as that. Our body needs them. Now, of course, you want to focus on the carbohydrates that are better for you. Okay, there are simple carbs and there are complex carbs, and you want to focus more on the complex carbs, which are things that have fiber in them, more of like your whole foods, okay, stuff that doesn't come in a package. And stay away from the simple carbs, which are more, things like your potato chips, cookies, muffins, cake, pie, all that kind of stuff. So there are carbs that are better for you, but you don't want to give up all carbs. Your body's not going to be happy with you. Okay. All right. So some takeaways is that there's no perfect way to eat, right? There's no diet out there that is going to be perfect for everybody. And nutrition science is constantly evolving because there's, constant experiments going on, and scientists trying to figure out what works best, right? But what I want you to know is you don't have to eat perfectly to be healthy. There's no such thing as perfect. And I say this to my clients all the time. You will never be perfect in anything that you do. Perfect doesn't exist. Focus on progress over perfection. Do a little bit better than you did the day before. Okay. And what really matters is what you eat consistently over time. It's not what you eat during a family birthday party where you're having cake and pizza. Okay. That one day of a birthday party is not going to ruin all of your progress that you've made. If you consistently eat that way, it will. Okay. But if you consistently eat in a healthy manner over time, that's really what counts. Okay. So get rid of that word perfect. Okay? It doesn't exist. Alrighty. So this slide is a little hard to see, but basically it's just showing you what some of the main diets all have in common. So it's comparing, it's like a really big, ginormous Venn diagram. And what all of these 5 have in common, so a fully plant-based diet, paleo, keto, Mediterranean diet, and a low-fat diet. The things that they all have in common is that they all emphasize whole foods. Okay, so those are foods that you eat in their mostly natural form. Okay, not out of a package. They focus on getting quality protein and getting enough of it. Protein is incredibly important. I talked a little bit about that on Monday when we talked about strength training. They all agree on incorporating a lot of vegetables. Okay, get your vitamins and minerals, fiber from your veggies. They prioritize high nutrient density. Okay, so foods that have a lot of nutrients in them. Okay, those are going to be your healthier foods to eat, right? They all talk about eating slowly until you're satisfied. And one thing about eating slowly is it takes a while for our stomachs to signal our brain that we're full. It takes about 10-15 minutes. So if we eat too fast, we're going to be full well before our stomach has a chance to tell our brain to stop eating. Okay, so eating slowly is super, super helpful. And then they all talk about minimizing processed foods. Okay. So if you're going to focus on those 6 things, those are probably the 6 most important things to focus on when you are eating. Okay. All right. So diets are not the answer. Okay. But having accountability with your eating habits is. Okay. So it's all about creating those healthy habits that you can carry on with you for the rest of your life. As cliche as it sounds, it really is a lifestyle change. One diet is not going to be the answer because number one, you can't do it for the rest of your life. And well, yeah, and that's it. Number one, that's all you need. You can't do it for the rest of your life, so it's not the answer. You have to have some healthy habits created that give you accountability and that you're able to do forever without you feeling deprived or restricted. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about the do's and don'ts of healthy eating. So here are some of the biggest mistakes that I see with healthy eating. Number one, and we've talked about this ad nauseum now at this point today, hopping from diet to diet. Not good for you. Don't do it. Number two, depriving yourself of your favorite foods. Okay. That gives the food power over you. Legalize your favorite foods and they lose their power. Number three, eating too few calories. Okay. We need to nourish our bodies. We don't want to starve our bodies or make our bodies think that maybe we might start starving. Okay. Eating for reasons other than hunger. And this is a tough one, okay, because many people eat for emotional reasons. You had a tough day at work. You had a fight with your significant other. You're stressed out. You're sad. You're lonely. You're mad. Any emotion we can stick in there, okay? And we eat because of it. So that kind of goes along with what we talked about yesterday. And we kind of have to work through those underlying issues of why we're eating when we're not hungry. Okay. If you've ever watched the show on TLC, I think it's called My 600-Pound Life, the doctor, can't remember his name right now, but he's like the funniest little guy. Like he reminds me of like a cartoon character. I love him. And he's like, he takes no crap from anyone and he calls them all out on what they're doing. Right. But he also, in addition to having them eat better, he sends them to therapy. Okay. Because there's a reason they're eating when they're not hungry. There's a reason they're overeating, and getting down to that reason can make all the difference in whether or not they lose weight. Dealing with those underlying beliefs. Okay. So if you struggle with weight loss and you do eat for emotional reasons, getting a hold of that is going to be paramount to your success. Um, Giving up after one day of overindulgence. So let's say you had that family birthday party, you had pizza, you had cake, you had beer, you had everything. And then because of that, you're like, I messed up my diet. I'm done. Okay. Don't let one day ruin all of the rest of the days. It's just one day. Again, it's what you do consistently over time. That one day is not going to make a big difference. However, if you give up after that day and you go back to unhealthy eating, then it's going to make a difference. Okay. So get right back on track. I always say you're one meal away from being back on track. So if you had a really crappy lunch, get right back on track with dinner. Okay, you don't have to wait until tomorrow. Or what I used to always do, I'll just wait until Monday. Monday, I'll start over again. Okay. No, you're just one meal away from being back on track. Okay. So the past is the past, put it aside and get right back to where you were. Expecting to lose a lot of weight in a short amount of time. Weight loss is a long game. Okay. Quick weight loss is not good weight loss. The quicker you lose weight, the more likely you are to gain it back. Okay. And that is, I belong to some Facebook groups with women who are on Ozempic or Wegovy, just because I want to know more about them, really. And so I just kind of lurk in those groups. And so many of the posts that these women make are, "Oh, it's week 2 and I've only lost 10 pounds." Wait, what? You've only lost 10 pounds? I'm sorry, like, why are you upset about that? Weight loss is not meant to be quick. We don't want it to be quick. I recommend to my clients half a pound to 2 pounds a week max is the goal. If you've lost at least half a pound in a week, you're going in the right direction. And you're doing it in a sustainable way. If you're losing more than 2 pounds a week, then you're probably eating too little. And we need to up your calories, okay, to keep your metabolism working the way it should. So don't just be patient. That's all I can say. Be patient. It's a long game. Okay. But you will get there if you stick with it consistently. And then finally, being in constant fear of not eating the right foods. This was me for so long. Like when I'd go out to dinner with friends or what have you, I'd be so worried that like there'd be nothing on there that were the right foods for me to eat. Okay. Again, that gives food too much power. Take that power away from the food. All foods are allowed. Just be mindful of what you're eating. Okay. So, what happens when you do change your relationship with food? What happens when you improve your relationship with food? Well, you create those sustainable, healthy habits that I keep preaching about that allow you to lose weight, keep it off forever, and then you never, ever, ever, ever go on another diet ever again. So, how many people here would love to never have to diet ever again? Okay. I know I'm so happy that I will never go on one ever again. Makes me thrilled. Takes away a lot of anxiety. You also won't feel deprived because you're telling yourself you can eat anything because you have a healthy relationship with food. And you know that if you have one cookie, it's not going to lead to eating the whole box. Okay, right? So that keeps you feeling successful. And when we feel successful, we want to keep going and doing the thing that is making us feel successful. Okay. We become intuitive about our eating, okay, which allows us to really be in tune with our bodies. Are we hungry? Do I need to eat right now? What should I eat right now? Okay, becoming more intuitive makes a big difference. And that is one of the books. I think it's called Intuitive Eating. It's right here. Yeah, Intuitive Eating. And that's where the Food Police came from. Great book. Highly recommend it. It helps you make peace with food and change your relationship with food. However, if you continue to hop from one diet to the next because you think, oh, this diet, this is going to be the one. This is the one that I'm going to be able to stick with. This is the one where I'm going to lose weight and keep it off. And I used to tell myself that all the time. So I get it. You end up losing pleasure in eating and you're in constant fear of not eating the right foods. That was me for years. Years. You enter into that binging cycle. So you gain even more weight and you're heavier than when you started to lose weight. Okay. And you lose muscle. You end up with a higher body fat percentage. Like I talked about on day one, on Tuesday, we need muscle. We need muscle on our bodies. Muscle is very metabolically active. Muscle keeps our metabolism elevated. We don't want to lose muscle. Okay. In most diets, because we are losing weight so quickly, we lose muscle. Like I was saying with the weight loss drugs, okay? They cause you to lose muscle. And then you have to keep eating less and less and less and less. All right, so here's the deal. Diets don't work. If a diet or even an exercise plan sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true. We all want the magic pill. We all want somebody to be able to wave a wand and give us the body of our dreams. There's no such thing, and there never will be. It takes work. And much of the time, we don't want to put in the work. And that's why we don't lose weight. Okay. So if it sounds too good to be true, it is. Excessive cardio is not the answer to losing weight. We talked about that on day one. Losing weight and getting healthy does not have to take hours of time. We talked that on day one too. Your workouts can be 30 minutes, 3 days a week. Okay. It's never too late to make a change in your life. Okay. And especially as we're getting older, keep yourself strong. Keep yourself healthy. It will make aging much, much easier. Okay. And this is a big one for mamas. You're allowed to take care of yourself. Okay. And it's encouraged. Remember, we cannot pour from an empty cup. We have to take care of ourselves in order to take care of everybody else in our lives, which is what we typically do, right? All right. So I just want to show you a little bit of proof. Okay. We'll go through these quickly because I know we're getting close to 1 o'clock, that it is possible to lose weight. Okay. So here are two clients, Heather on the left and Katie on the right. And I didn't put what everybody lost, how much on each slide, which I thought I did. But okay, so Heather lost 40 pounds and 32 inches, and she's now at maintenance, okay, and working on just continuing those healthy habits, okay. Katie here was able to go off one of her medications, right? And you can see she lost quite a few inches and weight. I don't remember exactly how much. We've got Kara on the left and Carrie on the right. Okay, you can see the differences in the abdominal area on both of them, where again, that's the most unhealthy place to carry our fat. Okay, Kim and Jennifer. Amazing results here. Okay. Julie and Krista. Awesome results here as well. Lots of inches lost. And I highly recommend that you not just look at the number on the scale. I highly recommend you track your inches. Okay, so your shoulders, your chest, your waist, your hips, your upper arms, your upper legs. Once a month, take out a tape measure. That will give you a much better picture of your progress than the number on the scale will. Okay? Because sometimes, especially as we're lifting weights, we lose, let's say, 2 pounds of fat, but we gain 2 pounds of muscle. So the number on the scale hasn't changed, but we look smaller because 2 pounds of muscle takes up a lot less space in our body than 2 pounds of fat does. So that shows in the inches that we have lost. Okay. All right. So homework last day. I want you to keep a food diary. Okay. I want you to track your food. If you don't already track your food, I highly recommend you start. You can use an app like MyFitnessPal. You can use the free version. There's a lot of different apps out there. I've just always used MyFitnessPal. And it's just, easy for me at this point because it's been years. But tracking your food is one of the best ways to keep yourself accountable. Because if you know that, okay, I ate, those 5 chips off my kid's plate, now I have to write it down in my food diary. You might not eat those 5 chips, right? Because you don't want to have to put them in there and see how many calories, right? Because all those little bites, licks, and tastes throughout the day, those add up big time. So if you are somebody who just kind of nibbles and finishes things off of other people's plates, you need to track that stuff too. Okay. So if you have not started and you've never tracked your food, I highly recommend you start just to be aware of how many calories you're taking in each day. Okay. Because that could be eye opening. Many of us grossly underestimate how much we eat. I have plenty of women say to me, but I really don't eat much at all throughout the day and I just can't lose weight. And then when I ask them to track their food for a couple of days, it turns out that they're eating way more calories than they thought they were. Okay, so it can be very eye opening. And if you already track your food, woohoo, awesome job. Keep doing it. I know it is a pain in the butt. It gets easier as you do it because you can save your favorite foods in there and you can copy, like lots of times I'll have leftovers for lunch. So I can easily copy my dinner from yesterday into my lunch from today. It gets easier. I know it's a pain. And I know a lot of my clients come in not wanting to do this and really pushing against me, but it makes a difference. And my clients who have the most success, so those women that you just saw in those pictures, those women all tracked their food every day, even on the weekends. Okay. And they tracked it honestly. And that's how they were able to see those results. Okay. Yep. Jackie says track every bite. Yes. Because those little bites, licks, and tastes can add up sometimes to 200-300 calories a day, which is a lot. If you're trying to eat, say 1,500 calories and 300 of those come from those little bites, licks, and tastes. All right. So also, if you have signed up for the 3-day workshop, you will be getting a special email surprise from me. So make sure you open that up. If you did not sign up for the workshop and you just happened to come upon it while scrolling through Facebook and it was streaming, send me a message and put your email in there and I will send over that email surprise to you. Okay. So let me know if there's any questions. Just scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss anything. Yep. All right. All right. Well, thank you for joining me. I'm so happy that I was able to get technology to work on day 2 and 3. So annoyed on Tuesday, but glad it all worked out. If you have any questions at all, if you're watching this on replay, drop the questions in the comments and I will come in and answer them for you. And again, start keeping a food diary for your homework and then check your email. And if you did not sign up yet for the challenge, then just message me your email and I will send over the email that everybody else is going to get. Okay. All right. Have a fabulous, fabulous rest of your day. And I will talk to everybody very, very soon. Take care.